Pleasure to welcome to the podcast Penn starting goalie Emmet Carroll. Emmet, welcome to the show.
Sir, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Let's go. Let's go. I always like to hear the story of the first time you jumped into goalie. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I necessarily remember the first time, but I definitely know why I wanted to get in goal. I think just naturally I was inclined to the goalie position. I was they're playing like street hockey with my friends and my brother. I would always hop in goal and want to play like catcher in baseball, all that stuff. So naturally when I started playing lacrosse, I started out as a midi and played there until about like sixth grade, and then would just kind of play half a goalie, and then made the transition full time. So don't necessarily remember the first time I hopped in, but definitely a cool journey.
So you always liked the projectiles coming at you in whatever sport it was, in the hockey or the catcher or lacrosse.
Yeah, for some reason I don't think my parents could never really understand it, but couldn't really tell you why, but just how it is.
Was it like a natural affinity where like a lot of goalies when they jump in, myself included, like the very first time, you're kind of scared crapless, right? Like you got this rubber thing coming at you. Some goalies don't have that though. Where do you fall on that whole thing?
I'd say maybe in the middle. Like I don't really think it's possible to not be like at least a little bit scared of the ball when you hop in there. Like lacrosse goalie is the one. I talked about how I played hockey goalie a little bit, and like that, you have so much padding. It still hurts a little bit. Lacrosse goalie is the one where you don't really have all that much padding. So, say like somewhere in the middle where I still, wasn't too afraid of it that I didn't want to play, but it was definitely something I had to adjust to.
Yeah. And so you're growing up in New York. I imagine there's like a lot of lacrosse around. How'd you go about then, like, all right, I'm going to be the goalie. I switch from midi to goalie, make it a little more serious. How'd you go about then learning how to make saves on a more consistent basis?
Well, I was, lucky enough to have, some great coaches growing up. I played for, obviously from Rye, New York. Every youth coach I had, like Colin McLean, a lot of guys that really helped me out. And then I think, the point in my career where I really started to, figure out the goalie position was when I started playing for my club team, which is Westchester Predators Lacrosse Club. And started working with one of my coaches, Ryan Penner. He was like a 3 or 4 year starter at Marist, like, captain there, just, awesome guy. And, really took me under his wing. So I think working with him and the rest of the guys at Preds, really helped me out. And I think, they have a lot of coaches that really know the goalie position well. And I think they really care about the specialist positions as a whole. So them like setting aside time to have sessions where coaches just like work with goalies, then I was able to really kind of refine my craft a little bit. So I'd say that's, where I started to learn how to save the ball, so to speak.
Yeah. That's so important that club teams do that. I put out a survey on like an Instagram poll or whatever, and like just asking if club teams had like a goalie coach, and like half did and half didn't, which is great. Probably like 5 years ago, that would have been way like, 75% didn't and 25% did. So, but still, I think it's super important that goalies get that specialty work along with faceoff guys, along with, those specialty positions. And nowadays, with the videos that are out there, the stuff I put out, the stuff all these goalie accounts put out, like there's really no excuse not to have like a quote unquote goalie coach, because you could learn enough to be effective. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And like obviously there's only so many coaches you can have within a club program, because nowadays they start them so young that each team probably has like 2 coaches. But even if you have someone that's just like part of the club program as a whole, that's like a overarching specialty coach, I think that's really helpful. I was lucky enough to the past few summers even like go back and coach for Preds, and I wasn't the coach of a specific team or anything, but I would work with myself and Charlie Cipriano and Max Edelman, who are two pretty good goalies themselves. We were able to coach up some of the younger guys.
Yeah, shout out Charlie Cipriano.
Legend.
legend, right? New York legend. Played in
Yeah.
played in the MLL a lot of years. Played in the PLL, I think for one,
Hmm.
maybe 2 seasons.
I think it was
Uh,
2. Yeah.
2, yeah. And podcast guest number 4 on the Lax
Oh, was
Goalie
he?
Rap podcast. Yeah. So
That's
he got in.
awesome.
He got in early. He got in
Yeah, he
early.
was. Yeah, he's an awesome guy, and I think I started working with him in like 8th or 9th grade, getting coached up a little bit. So yeah, he's a great guy. Can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. When you go back and coach those young kids, what does a session look like for you? Like how are there specific things that like you want to make sure you're teaching them? Is it like I
Mhm.
just want to analyze their game and see where I can help? How do you structure those?
Yeah, so I guess in the beginning of the summer, it's kind of analyzing their game, getting feedback from them on like things that goals they have for the summer and things that they want to work on. And then I'd say each session, you kind of see it as like building up. So in the start, you'll do simple things like ball toss or a lot of drills where you're just getting your feet going, and then we'll gradually build to like getting shot or taking shots with a player stick, and then doing some of those like upside down drills with the butt end where you're kind of just focusing on your hand eye,
Yeah.
and then gradually just gradually building up to just seeing them take shots. And that's obviously, I think, the most important part as a goalie, especially as you get older, is just seeing enough shots that where you feel comfortable and you can kind of narrow in on your weaknesses. So I think we try to myself, Charlie, Max, we would all try to build that into those sessions with Preds. Hope it helped. And yeah.
Sure it did. I'm sure it did,
Yeah.
man. Any coaching they can get from, guys in college. I mean, I know like when
Mhm.
I was that age, just like college athletes, but like I love watching them play, and like you really,
Mhm.
they come back and help you out. It really means a lot to them. So
Mhm.
those youth. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
Um, yeah, I love that butt end drill. One thing I learned from Kyle Bernlohr is he took a tennis ball and like took an X-Acto knife and just like cut out like a little thing and then put that on top. And it's just
Mhm.
like of the butt end, right? And it's this little added like visual thing, like bright green
Yeah.
tennis ball on top. So
I like it.
it's a cool drill. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
definitely
right.
that, and the tennis racket drill too, where you're kind of
Oh
just
yeah.
tossing it up and hitting at them, like where you can't really read the release or anything, you just got to react. I think those are two pretty good drills.
Yeah, we were talking about that one last week in one of the sessions from the Goalie Summit, because someone was asking
Mm-hmm.
like what are drills I can do to improve my reaction time, and that was one of the ones that they mentioned. Because when it comes off that tennis racket, you're right, it's not like a lacrosse shot where you can kind of like read it,
Mm-hmm.
or like a baseball pitcher where you can kind of like see his motion. I know exactly when the ball's gonna be
Yeah,
released.
exactly.
It's kind of like a pitching machine, and which it just comes out of nowhere, and you're like,
Yeah,
whoa. But anyway,
yeah.
great drill, love that one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. How do you describe your style? Big dude, right? Big dude.
Mm-hmm.
And have you always been that big? And like, talk to me about kind of how your style started and kind of how where it's ended up now.
Yeah, I think I started more like fundamental than I am now. Obviously when you're starting, you can't really use your size to your advantage necessarily. Because I wasn't, I think I'm a big kid, but was never like towering over anybody. So definitely started as more fundamental and just, always trying to step to the ball and using my hand eye, to my advantage. And then I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of adopted a more unique style. I think I have a pretty wide base. And I don't necessarily, try to, I don't really think of it as like a science or anything. I'll kind of sometimes like jump out to shooters or kind of bounce around the net a little bit. So I think I've gotten less fundamental as I've gone on, and kind of just tried to rely on my hands and my explosion a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I know we're gonna, look at some saves later. So maybe I can dive into my stance a little bit when we get there too.
Yeah, let's do that for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. What speaking of that wide base, I think that let's talk about the wide base stance, because I get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
questions from it, especially from like the older generation who like, the older generation, it was like shoulder width apart, like shoulder width
Yeah,
apart.
exactly.
Like that's
That's
the
how I
way
was
you did
taught
it.
too.
Right, exactly. And then, now I personally feel that is too narrow. Even like
Mm-hmm.
shoulder width, like you stand shoulder width, like if you're going to get technical with it, like literally your feet are shoulder width apart, it's too narrow. And even me as a shorter goalie, like I'm like outside, just slightly outside of the shoulders, and I feel more athletic. But what is that? You're really wide, right? What does that do for you?
Well, I think in the shooter's mind, you're kind of taking up more space. I think a lot of it at the college level is that you want to make them, if they're going to beat you, like make them beat you in corners and in spots where like, only they can put it. So I think you just like take up more space. And then I also think I just feel a little bit more grounded. Like I've always had, pretty long legs and like more of a shorter torso. So I think that's just like naturally where I stand. But then I also think it kind of helps me be a little bit more explosive because I can go in that wide base and then sink in more naturally, like stay a little bit lower to the ground, and kind of just build up some explosion. And then, ultimately when the shot comes, I think that's what helps me, drive to the ball. And I think, like I said, I'm not necessarily the most fundamental guy. So if I'm gonna, flop to saves or go down to the ground, I think that that also kind of plays into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the criticism of those older goalies and goalie coaches is like, well, you're not explosive. And I was like, well, listen, like it's very different if you're like 6'3" and you're doing it and you're like, it looks a lot wider than like, you're still explosive. That's kind of what I'm trying to get. I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I also don't think like the narrow stance is a bad thing. I think you still are more explosive. I just think for me personally, that's just kind of naturally how I fit into my stance, especially as I got a little bit taller.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's like one of the like core theories of this show is there's like a lot of ways to play goalie and like no one way is the right way. So you got to find what works for you. And especially I think in the wide base, like it does lower your like center of gravity. So you do have to have some height, I think. So
and then you have to make sure sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if you're gonna sink low like that, you just got to make sure you're not necessarily like dipping too early on shooters, because you do, like, if you're gonna have a wide base and like a lower stance, then means you have to really explode up to the higher shots.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and what about 5-hole though? Because it does like one of the again, one of the criticisms of the 5-hole's so open, and I've got a theory, but I want to hear kind of, what's your take on them 5-hole shots then?
Yeah, I think it's definitely one disadvantage of it, and it's, I guess, like if you were to take a picture of a goalie in a wide stance, that's probably the most open spot. So I'd say you kind of just got to do a good job, not like I think it's that top hand drive down to the ball where you're kind of like coming in with your legs and like really exploding and just kind of covering it up. I think it's it's tough, but I think one thing I learned my freshman year from when Pat Birkinshaw was on here, I know he shouted out one of our coaches, Dave Page, and so he taught me this as well, that like covering up the 5-hole, it's still one of those things where like, it's not necessarily going to either side, but you still have to take like a step forward. So like whether you're stepping forward with your right or left leg, it doesn't really matter, but you still have to explode to those 5-hole shots. And I think that kind of really helped me, because a lot of times, with that wide base, if guys would shoot 5-hole, I'd kind of get back on my heels a little bit and fall back. And then you can't really control your hands as well. But I think if you're, regardless of what foot it is, if you're driving either left foot or right foot forward, then you can kind of cover it up a little better. And if you need to go down, you can, but that keeps your hands active.
Yeah, a lot there. And so, yeah, had Pat Birkinshaw on, he started right before you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Coach Dave Page, who no longer coaches there, but did coach at Penn, right?
Yeah. So he was there when I was being recruited and then left after my freshman year.
Got it. So on those 5-hole saves, then I guess it kind of depends. That's the thing is your technique, like, do you drop a knee? Do you drop both knees? Do you just drop your butt down? Or like, how do you technique wise, how do you do that? If it's like straight middle 5-hole.
I think I probably drop one knee. I think if you're gonna drop two knees, then like you got to be really sure that it's going like directly 5-hole, because then it kind of takes away any other movements that you can make. So I'd say dropping one knee is probably the way I go.
Got it. Yeah, my theory was like, if they're gonna, as lacrosse goalies, it's not like ice hockey goalies or even box goalies for that matter, where we occupy like 99% of the goal, right? And like the offense kind of has to like move the goalie to open up a space to hit. If that makes sense. Goalies, like even you at, whatever, 6'3" or 6'4", you stand in front of the goal, you're occupying what, like 60% of the goal, like max, right? So there's a lot of area to shoot. And so it's like, what do you want to give up? Right? If I'm in a narrower base, I'm giving up outside of my knees, outside of my shins. And I think that's a harder save to make than 5-hole personally, because you got to step, you got to get there. It's more movement.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a benefit of the wide base. But like I said, I can't, I never played that way.
Fair.
Awesome. Well, cool. Talk to me though. No, because you didn't work with Dave Page. He recruited you, and then he's like, "That's it, I'm out," huh?
Well, I think he had so he was there my freshman year, which was a weird COVID year. Like my freshman year was the 2021 season, and none of the IB teams played, but all of us were still on campus and we were practicing. Still practicing every day like it was a season. So we were able, like, we were really, myself and the other goalies were able to work pretty closely with Coach Page. And so I think that's, I know Pat mentioned this too. He thinks that's, where he's kind of where he developed most is with Coach Page. And I think I would agree, in that spring, just being able to have a hands-on goalie coach, especially as you adjust to the college level, I think that was definitely really important for me. And then he's just such an awesome guy too. I think he didn't necessarily just dip. He had a pretty cool opportunity over at the Hill School in PA. So pretty happy for him, and he stays in touch with us and is a huge Penn Lax fan. So it's pretty awesome to see.
Awesome, yeah. As am I. He's presented at the Goalie Summit twice. He's just
nice.
Great goalie mind, great lacrosse mind. So he's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about that 2021 season. Got to be difficult, right? Got to be difficult. You guys are practicing. You're seeing all this lacrosse going on, and you can't participate. How did you like keep the same level of intensity in your practices when it's like, what are we practicing for? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was no doubt that was one of the toughest things we've ever had to go through. And especially being a freshman, like you don't really know what's going on, because that was kind of the normal for us. Like in the fall, we were driving 40 minutes out to Radnor to practice, just do captain's practices. And then in the fall, when we were finally able to actually practice with the coaches, we were in actual season. So it was really tough. But I think the motivation came from our seniors. They were in a really tough spot because they had the previous season canceled, and then that season canceled as well. So their junior and senior seasons were canceled, but they still kept us going because we always talk about wanting to leave the program better than you found it. And they didn't want to see the progress that we had made in 2019. 2019 was an amazing season for Penn, and they didn't want to see all that progress go backwards. So they we worked with the goal in mind of winning the 2022 national championship, which didn't end up happening. But I think the success we had last year was kind of a testament to those seniors, and how they never quit on the program, even in the scenario they were in.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great motivation, right? Do it for others. Do it for these guys. It's their last season, and bummer for them. I mean, but it is what it is, and this is the situation we're in, and what we can do to honor them and respect them is try our best and go as hard as we can in practice, right?
Exactly.
And then Penn doesn't do you can't do like a grad, you can't have a grad year and play, right?
No, you can't. But we've had some guys come back that have like this year we have Piper Bond, Sam Hanley, Dylan Gergar, and BJ Farrar all came back because they didn't graduate last year, and then ended up leaving a couple credits for their 5th year. So
right.
still, I think
Smart.
like, yeah. So I think you see like Yale and some other Ivy programs have been doing it too. So I think it's pretty cool where, guys will want to even do that just because they don't want to necessarily go to another program and
Right.
want to stay at Penn.
Right. That's cool. What
Mhm.
was it about Penn for you as you're going through the recruiting process? And talk to me a little bit about your recruiting process too. Like, what was it specifically about Penn that drew you to that program?
I think it was, without a doubt the culture. Like the second you kind of step foot in the locker room, even as a recruit, you're like, you have, so many guys coming up to you, just like good, amazing down to earth guys. That like want to see you succeed. And I think that's that's what I loved about it. And I was so one of my coaches growing up, Robbie Santangelo, his son Chris Santangelo played at Penn. He was a faceoff guy who graduated in 2018, which was the year that I started getting recruited. So having him in my corner and being able to kind of pick his brain about his process was really helpful. So that was kind of what drew me to Penn, and best decision I've ever made. No regrets whatsoever.
It's awesome. What kind of, when you talk about picking his brain, what kind of things like would you ask, and what kind of things would he say?
Well, yeah, just wanted to get a better idea of like what the culture is and kind of what like the daily life of a Penn lacrosse player is. Just
Got it.
if you're gonna be
Yeah.
doing it for 4 years, you want to make sure that it's like a structure that you really like. So that was important. And then one piece of recruiting advice I got was to go to a school where you can see yourself, whether you were to get injured or not be on the team or anything. Like go to a school where you would just be happy being a normal student there. And the way he talked about the social life and just like the life as a whole at Penn was definitely stood out. And then I saw it on my official visit as well. So but yeah, that was pretty cool.
Nice. Some people call it UPenn. Do you just call it Penn? What's the common saying over there?
Yeah, I call it Penn. I think
Okay.
most guys on our team do, but I think UPenn's perfectly fine as well. I don't think anyone would like get offended by one or the other.
I got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of like I went to Cal, right? And
Yeah.
like there's so many different names for Cal because officially it's like the University of California, Berkeley. And so some people just
Mhm.
call it Berkeley. Like when we play sports, they put California, but like
Really?
no, but like rarely do we say like, I went to California. I
Yeah.
usually say Cal because of the kind of like the
Mhm.
script Cal. Anyway, a lot of different names, but they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Yeah, of course. It's a good school.
Um, Very cool. So it's the Penn of the West Coast, right?
I think so.
Growing up, were there some college guys or some pros that you kind of watched and learned from? Maybe Cipriano?
Yeah, definitely Charlie Sip. And then so I was always um, kind of just like loved watching college goalies growing up and just watching it from their perspective. My favorite goalie was actually Nico Amato. So kind of like a Maryland legend, and it's pretty ironic because our defensive coordinator is Casey Ikeda, who was a defenseman for him for a couple of years at Maryland. So I always tell him that was my favorite goalie. So pretty funny, but yeah, I'd say he was my favorite goalie growing up.
That's cool. What was it about his game that you liked so much? He's a smaller dude. He's like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked how even if he was small, he really used his body well.
Mm-hmm.
In tight on like lower angles, he would do a great job. Something that I do now, that he would do a great job, like kind of getting his chest up to the ball, and just kind of taking up as much space as possible. And yeah, so I thought, I always kind of liked his game, especially even as a smaller guy. He was always taking up a lot of space and did a really good job. Obviously had an amazing career at Maryland. So
Yeah, that's awesome. When you get to Penn, obviously the speed of the game's a lot faster. You got dudes like Sam Hanley, who's like, I don't know what he is, 7 foot tall, ripping bombs at you, right?
yeah.
I mean, part of the speed of the game, was there anything else that you learned there where you're like, man, I wish I learned this. Wish I learned this a little bit earlier. A lesson.
No, I don't think necessarily. I think maybe one thing is that like when you get to college, like your form can kind of can kind of sometimes go out the window. Like at certain points, it's just like, like you said, there's guys like Sam and guys like Cam Rubin on our team who just shoot the ball so hard that like you got to rely on your natural instincts a little bit more than like technique itself. So I think like the more you can be comfortable in your technique is great, and will get you very far, especially get you to college. But I think just knowing that you're gonna have to rely on your natural instincts is one thing I wish I would have learned.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. I got some saves. Can we look at some saves? Talk through them.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's do it. Let me bring up this video here. By the way, do you know? I mean, I imagine you play these guys, the other goalies, so often. How well do you know like the other goalies on the other Ivy League teams? Jared Paquette, for example.
Yeah, I don't know Jared personally. Obviously, he's a really great goalie. He had a great game against us. I know Connor Terrio pretty well at Brown, just from playing. We would always play against Fighting Clams growing up for some reason. Like it seemed like a once a weekend thing. So got to know him well there, and then have kind of stayed in touch. So probably reach out to him at one point this week just to let him know we're still friends, but we're obviously playing Brown this week. So
yeah,
so be funny going up against them.
Love it. That's awesome. All right. Yeah. Let me find the first save right here.
Lawrenceville lacrosse games. Yale's got some reinforcements coming quickly next year. As Emmet Carroll makes that save, a flag is down.
And then we got the high def version coming up here.
Nice.
One of the things that, as I kind of watch you play, like you've got that every time that you, reposition yourself on the arc, you like jump into the stance, right? Like a little hop, little reset the weight. Can you talk to me about that technique, where you learned it and what it does for you?
Yeah, well, I think it, like you said, it kind of resets your weight, and that's, I think it's just kind of come natural for me, where like I will kind of jump out to it, and then if it's like a quick shot or some guys getting off on a quick release, then I feel like I can really explode to it, and once I hop to that next spot, then I'm set and ready to go. So I think it kind of looks a little funky, but I think it kind of works for me and it feels natural.
Yeah. And this one too, like you even kind of come up a little bit. And I think that's kind of what you were talking about at the beginning, where, it's kind of a feeling thing, right? Like, all right, this guy's going to shoot. It feels like the right time to come up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I even thought number 44 was going to shoot there, and he was low angle. So that's why I came out a little bit. Then obviously ends up passing it over. So
yeah. And this is like really good drill for goalies, is like, being able to move and get over there, right? Because he ends up shooting far pipe. Like you're on this pipe, he shoots it to this pipe. And at this point, like he's so close. I mean, you're essentially reading the body language, right? Because you're going to that far pipe, like right there before he even releases it. And I think that's the only way you make that save.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, obviously he's getting pushed into me, but anytime on like a cross crease feed or something like that, you kind of expect a guy to put it where it's going to be hardest for you to get. And, in this case, it's far pipe. So sliding over there, just kind of happy to make this one, especially one of the first couple shots I saw this game. So
yeah, that's also important. And just to finish up on this, I mean, like, and he's turning his shoulders to like point right in that far pipe.
Yeah,
and that's like something that, as a youth, you can really read those shooters. Goalies, shooters at the college level and pro level can get a little more deceptive, but I think it's a hard shot. And so I don't think a lot of youth can be very deceptive with the shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the guys we go against, the guys I go up against in practice every day, and then obviously go up against in the game, just like, I think they do such a good job, like with their body language before they shoot, whether it's just like kind of trying to get you to dip or, making them think, or making you think that they're going where they're really not. So I think, just a quick shout out to the shooters there, even though, not the most fun when they get you to dip and then bring it back high, but they still do a really good job of it.
Yep. And then the video kind of, or the you can't really see it. Is this a body save, or did you catch this one?
It's it was a body save. I think it was my left thigh.
Left eye
and
feels
then,
good, right? Feels good.
yeah.
That first save of the game, a little left thigh action.
More cutting
All right,
action.
exactly.
There it is. So
Good hustle by
great
Carroll.
hustle. Yeah.
Huge play. Huge play. I love these plays so much. So you guys are man down, right? And then this is like the subsequent, that play we just looked at was a penalty, so it's the subsequent possession. And you know, when they get into like I don't know if it's a 3-3 or maybe like a 2-1-2, but like there's nobody back. So like that's a great opportunity to keep that in mind as a goalie, that like if the shot misses the cage, like go get it. And then that hustle and boom, win that possession. That's awesome.
Yeah,
has that always been a part of your game, chasing out the shots?
Yeah, I think so. Something that Coach Murphy tells us a lot is that like a huge part of playing goalie is like making plays out of the cage as well. So, you know, obviously you want to get ground balls and just be a part of the clearing game and be a voice, because that really helps the team. But then I think he's made a couple, you know, made a point of emphasis that it kind of gets you into the game as well, which I think is really true. And then this is also just something that we pride ourselves on, is like diving for end lines and you know, making plays for your teammates that you know, that show you want to sell out and that you love them.
100%. Yeah. And we had a ref, we had Matt Palom on the summit last week, and he was saying like, this is like, it's a really hard call for the official. Like this guy's got a really good angle, you know, but sometimes the officials are not like in the right angle, and you're like, they're doing this like geometry. And like, if one guy dives and the other guy doesn't dive, like, you know, he's showing way more effort. And a lot of times you're going to get that call just because you dove. So do it, dive for loose balls. Exactly. I love it. Cool.
Game in the country, so not something that happens often. Great save made there by Carroll to shut down that 5-hole.
That was a great save. You got it.
Thank
you. Yeah, I love it. First of all, what is this? The communication there. He was kind of your 41 was kind of sinking in, right? And you're just basically telling him to get out there.
Yeah. So he, I think if you play back, they had switched this pick. And you know, so our number 14, Chris Connect, comes off and chops it. So you know, Pete kind of gets back to the middle. And then I was just kind of telling him that his guy was floating up and was kind of open for a shot.
Yeah. And if you see like, so you get in your stance, right? And it looks like I forget his name, 41 screening you a little bit, right? So what do you do when you get screened? It kind of just looks like, because it's tough. Like you can't move your body position, because if you move your body position, you're going to be out of position, right? So you kind of got to just move your head a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like, it's exactly that. It's just moving your head, because you don't want to, like if you are trying to adjust your feet, then they're likely shooting it while you're adjusting, and then you can't really do much there. And then I think, you know, 41 Peter Blake, he actually does a pretty good job getting like a nice skewer in as he shoots it, and also you know, takes away his you know, I ended up seeing this over his shoulder, but he takes away kind of the near side of the net. And you know, with the way, if he tries to come back, or if 26 tries to come back and shoot it near side, then Pete's going to get his stick there and it's going to deflect away. So I you know, the way Pete approached that, I was able to read it and kind of see that he was going more far side.
And do you read it low? Because it kind of looks like, you know, the hands are already moving down like before he rips it.
Yeah, I read that one low.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I like that technique, right? So that's, you know, you talked about earlier in your career, maybe your more fundamental step to the ball, recovery step, you know, top hand drive straight to the ball. Now it's like, you know, let me get anything I can, like, you know, but you kind of like, if I freeze it at the moment, you know, your right knee's down, covering up that left knee or left leg covers up that 5-hole as well. And I mean, you end up catching it right in the stick, but I mean, even if you don't, like your body's right there. It's going to hit you right in the chest.
Yeah.
It's good save.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Backside.
Carroll sees that one, holds on. And now Penn, if they're able to clear, can finish.
There we go. Talk about textbook, right? We get right into textbook save. Talk to me about this play if you remember this one.
Yeah, so this is you know, number 45 on their team. He's a huge threat whenever he's on the field, especially playing that top center role on man up. So I think kind of just tried to read him, read him and beat him a little bit. He obviously shoots the ball very hard, but I'm lucky enough to, I don't know if you know, Cam Rubin, number 12 on our team, is an attackman. He, has an absolute rocket. So, working with him in the week, just kind of trying to prepare for the shot and see as many, hard shots as I possibly could from that spot. So I think that, that kind of played into it. And then like you said, I think this is probably one of the more fundamental saves I have, just driving the top hand of the ball. It was more just reading it, trying to get set and just seeing it.
Yeah, love it. I mean, that top hand movement is so direct, right? It's just straight line right to the ball. That is so fundamental. And it looks like, I mean, we've got some other things that we talked about too. You kind of adjust your positioning on the arc, and then boom, land in that hop, you're ready to go. And then you're kind of looking through the traffic, right? I mean, you gotta see the ball, you gotta see the release. And so you kind of do what you can there, and then bam, make that save, find the outlet, bam. Did that one, looks like you were checking your wand at the end of this here. Did that one make a funny noise or something?
Yeah, I thought, man, I mean, like I said, he shoots the ball really hard, so I thought maybe the top of it had snapped or something, but thankfully not. Thankfully, I still got that head going.
It was all good. All good. I love it. All right.
Saw it. Brandow picks it up, shoots that one wide of the cage. Bouncing ball, 6 seconds left.
Great defense.
Man, I think I put this one in here just for that great defense, but also, that kind of this move right here. So like a lot of times when I talk to young goalies, it's like they're good at moving, adjacent on the arc, right? They just step and kind of recover, but you have to be able to move to all spots on the arc. And here, like from one spot to any spot on the arc, and here, like you're on the pipe, right? Ball's back left, and they end up throwing it all the way over, and you got to get like right there. And so is that a move that you can make, like drop step, open the hips and land, and bam, you're right there, right? And it looks like he maybe thought he was going to shoot, and that's the time I'm going to come up and do my little hop step up and be in a balanced position. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so you mentioned it that like you want to take, especially on like wing to wing feeds or like X to a wing feed, you want to take that drop step first, so you can kind of reposition yourself. And then I think my hop plays into it pretty well. I forget who I heard talking about it. I feel like I've heard a lot of pro and college goalies talk about taking that drop step in and then exploding out. So that's kind of just what I tried to do. It's something that we work on a decent amount. And then, like you said, I kind of try to take away the low angle, but luckily Brent Novell is really good at defense and kind of had that takeaway check. So
yeah. And are you like, when you play goalie, are you a real fiery guy? Because like when I played and like one of my defenders, yard sailed one of the guys in that manner, like I get so pumped up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I end up getting pretty pumped for him here. He's I've actually been playing with him since I was like 3 or 4 years old. He's also from around New York, and we were the same grade. I always get fired up when he does something like that, which obviously he does pretty often.
Love it. All right.
A shot. Carroll fights that one off as well. Able to shut it off down low.
Yeah, it's just great positioning. That's so cool to watch the on this angle right here, the adjustment of that angle. When do you decide to move? What are you looking for when you decide, especially on like a sweep where this guy starts here, he's going to end up shooting right here. At what point do you like adjust?
Well, yeah, I think I kind of try to wait as long as possible until like I know that he's going to end up taking an alley runner, or he's going to try to go low angle and not roll back. Number 19, James Shipley, does a pretty good job not making the rollback not really an option and kind of forcing him into a more low angle shot. So I'd say once you know that like the defender is able to sit on the rollback, then you can kind of move over because it's going to end up being a low angle shot.
Another body save on this one, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of trying to fight that one off a little bit.
Love it. Cool. I don't think I have much on that one.
Tied. Brandow against Farrar. Big save made by Carroll. and it's kicked out.
The goal there, he could have turned
that one. Let's skip all the way to the end. I mean, just fantastic. I'm just gonna let this play here. Boom. What's up? What's up? What a save. 21 seconds left, right? You guys are up by 1. What is your mentality? I want to talk about the mental game as soon as we finish with this, but what is your mentality going into that?
Got to make a stop. Our offense had kind of been bailing us out all game, and we got up 17-16 with I don't know, I think like a minute 17 left. And so we brought it in, myself, Peter Blake, Ethan Till, Brent Lavelle, all the guys down low. We brought it in before the face off, and we're like, hey, the offense, kind of gave us a shot here. So let's make sure we make a stop here and are as dialed in as possible. And I think that really applies, for both defensemen and goalies. Don't want to give one up here and leave it to chance in overtime. So that's kind of just what I was thinking, and pretty happy it worked out.
Yeah, got to make a stop, right? And so short time, guy catches it, and bam, nice. It's like, just picked it up, like just in time, right? Just in time. I mean, talk to me more about this. I
thought he had me beat.
Really?
In midair, I thought he had me beat because I kind of dipped my hands a little bit. But I saw it pretty well. And BJ got a nice skewer in there. So yeah, it was just, saw it and then just punched my hand as hard as I could to the ball. Exploded pretty high, and then Piper Bond did a great job getting the rebound too. So I think the combination of a good skewer by BJ and the ability to see the ball, that's what kind of what led to this, and obviously a huge win for us. So I was pretty pumped after.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's got, this is one of the reasons we play, one of the feelings we're going for as lacrosse goalies, right? The boys just come out and mob the goalie. Great tradition, and that feels good, huh?
Yeah, of course. And you can hear in the background of that video, it was our alumni day, and all the alums are right behind the camera guy, just cheering and there to support us. So it was awesome to have them there. The guys that have really shaped the program. You see him celebrating right there.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
So.
He told me he had to edit out a little bit of the audio because there were some choice words in there. But we'll give him the benefit. Sure. We'll give him the benefit on that one. I'm sure they'd had some adult beverages and were enjoying the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Huge Penn fans.
There you go. Well, that was fun, man. That was fun. Thank you for going through that.
Yeah, of course.
Walking through that. Going back to the mental game, right? Lacrosse goalie's got to be super strong mentally. When you think about mental toughness lessons that you've learned along the way, things that really help you, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I think like you said, the mental game is such a huge part of it. You can have the physical tools and be a really solid goalie, but throughout the course of a game, there are things that are throughout the course of a game and course of a season, there are things that are not going to go your way. So it's really responding to those. That is kind of the most important part of the game. And I think that's something I still struggle with and still have to talk to Coach Murphy about. He does a really good job, keeping me in check and making sure that I'm kind of on top of my mental game. So that's been pretty helpful. But yeah, it is really important. It can't really be understated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is one of those things like the gym where you got to constantly go, or you got to keep working on it to see progress. It's not like you learn one mental lesson or you read one book and you're like, boom, I got it. I'm mentally strong now. That's not the way it works, because you're always going to get challenged, especially as a goalie, right? Mentally, and being constantly in the way of fire, it's tough, and you got to keep working at it. So
but I think it's you have to have, I'm sure it's been said on here before, where you kind of have to have that next shot mentality. The next shot is the most important one, because if you're letting yourself get hung up on previous goals that have gone in, whether it be in practice or in a game, it's just going to kind of affect the next save and the way you approach the next shot. So I think you kind of kind of saw that in the Yale game where, at a certain point, it's like, I think it, ended up under 50% in the game and probably had a couple I wanted back, but, at the end of the day, it's just always about the next shot. And if you're able to kind of reset, then you'll be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. Do you have a specific routine that you go through when you give up a goal?
No, not really. I'm not really like hit the post guy or anything like that. I think it's more just talking to my defense, making sure we figured out what happened on the goal, and then not necessarily like post shot routine, but in huddles and in timeouts. One of our other goalies is a sophomore, Jake Oliver. He like keeps a shot chart throughout the game, and so where the shots are coming from, where they're going, whether they went in or were saved or just wide. And he kind of does a really good job giving me like analysis on like, if they're going to a certain spot, or if I'm, dip my hands or not playing my angles the right way. So I think having a guy like that who is a fellow goalie and will be able to see that kind of stuff, and then also really support me, is huge. And I think that's a huge part of goalie in college is having a great goalie room around you, and just each guy supporting the others.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a real great point. So he's taken like the stats, if you will, during the game. And if he sees like 3 shots coming, from one specific spot on the field, he'll give you like a heads up in a timeout or something like that.
Yeah. Like if whether it be like a media timeout or coach takes a timeout or something, he'll kind of give me that heads up. And yeah, he does a really good job with that. And I think he's really, really timely with it. And yeah, so I mean, there's, against like Cornell, I kind of got I got shelled a little bit, but he was always there, kind of keeping me in the right mindset. And whether it's important to have, whether things are going well or they're going poorly.
Yeah. Having that good goalie room and just really encouraging each other and pushing each other, it makes the team better, right? It makes obviously you as a starter makes you better, because you're, when you got. I interviewed one goalie and he said like the worst year that he had in his career was one where like there was just a couple guys in the goalie room and he was like, way better than them. Like he was clearly no one was nipping at his heels, right? But when you got someone nipping at your heels for that role, like guess what? Like you're gonna work harder, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of what Pat Bergenshaw and I had last year a little bit, as well as Devin Varney and Harrison Fellheimer, who were goalies last year as well. But just guys, Pat and I pushing each other, it always I think that really helped. And I think if as long as you're pushing each other, but then you're also you're both striving towards the same goal, like you just wanted to see the team succeed, as long as you keep that at the forefront at the end of the day, and you're still really good friends, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. What about slumps? Have you ever gone through a slump, and then how did you get out of that?
Yeah, I think just like the nature of the position is you're going to go through slumps, especially as you get older and play more. So I'll talk about a recent example. So 2 games ago we played Cornell, ended up giving up like 18 goals, did not play well, and just wasn't really seeing it. But like talking to Coach Murphy after the game, he's like, I think this week I just needed to see as many shots as I possibly can to kind of be able to put that behind me. Because it's putting a bad game like that is way easier said than done, because like you could just say like, oh, like it's behind me, I'm going to reset. But at the end of the day, it's always kind of still lingering. So I think attacking the practices that week and seeing as many shots as possible outside of practice is really important to make sure you're both like physically and mentally reset. So yeah.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We're recording this April 5th. You guys got Brown on Saturday, April 8th. Finally a non-ranked opponent, right?
Yeah, I mean they're
good. They're good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but I mean, you guys had played all ranked opponents, at least at the time they were at the time you played them, right? I know things switch around.
Yeah. So I think I saw somewhere we have like the number 1 strength of schedule or something like that. So I think it's kind of what we've always done, is try to play a really hard out of conference schedule, and then obviously the Ivies are all really good. So
sure.
I think that's what I probably wouldn't have it done the other way. It's like it makes every every single game, need that much more. So yes. And then Brown, they just took down Villanova, had a tight game against Princeton. So they're going to be a really good opponent, and could be ranked by the end of the year.
Yeah, that'd be a great game. Do you now going into a game just in general, are you do you watch a lot of film on the opposing team? Do you like to know the shooter's tendencies, or does that get in your, some goalies like that, some goalies don't? What's your take?
Yeah, I think it's kind of finding the balance. Like I'll watch myself and the other goalies will watch film of their shooters with Coach Murphy, just to like make sure, if they have any tendencies that we're not missing them. But at the end of the day, I think I'll watch that, and then watch the film that we watch with the defense and as a team, to just kind of get a general sense of their offense overall. But I think it's finding that balance, because like you said, if you like look too much into it, then you can kind of psych yourself out, because at the end of the day, like no two shots are the same. And each, you could, if you see their tendencies, then great. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of relying on doing your best on the goal and everything that you've kind of built yourself as a goalie in order to make the saves in the game.
Yeah. Sometimes, having too much of that in your head can just, it can mess with your head, right? And all of a sudden you're thinking way too much as opposed to just reacting. And sometimes it can help too. I mean, certainly like knowing where the shots are coming from, and knowing like if 30's a righty or a lefty, or like, just what he likes to do. And I think that really helps. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, seeing that ball and just reacting to it, I think is the most important thing.
Yeah,
cool.
I agree.
I was going to say, so Division I mid-season All-Americans come out, and your honorable mention, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I mean, that's awesome. That's a major accomplishment. For you though, is that just like, whatever, like, let's keep playing? Is that kind of how you approach it? Or is there something else you do to, when that comes out?
Yeah, I think it's cool. But like you said, at the end of the day, it's like, at the time when it came out, we were 3-4. So, it's just gotta keep pushing, and, always kind of put the team first. So, I mean, all that stuff is cool, but, at the end of the day, just want to win games.
I hear you. It is cool. So I'll say congratulations on your behalf, and thank you for coming on the show, Emmett. Tons of fun chatting with you, going through the saves. Good luck rest of the season. And if you had to leave the goalies out there with the final piece of advice, what would that be?
Honestly, just have fun with it. I think people get too, especially for young goalies, kind of get too caught up in like recruiting, like thinking about recruiting at a young age or things like that. Honestly, just remember at the end of the day, it is a very fun sport, and we play it because we love it. So always have fun with it, and never let it get too serious that it kind of weighs you down a little bit. So just have fun with it.
Beauty. Emmett, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.